The Lord be with you. And also with you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those of us who take counsel in the annual meeting for St. Alfred's Episcopal Church for the renewal and mission of our church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Good morning and welcome to the 60th annual meeting of St. Alfred's Episcopal Church. It is good to be with you. You should all have a copy of the annual report and the agenda for our meeting today. We'll be hearing from both our senior warden and our treasurer, Senior Warden Scott Garrett and Treasurer Hannah Westcott, electing new members to the vestry and taking care of any other matters that might come before this body. I'm going to, at this point, turn it over to Scott Garrett for the appointment of our meeting secretary.
We are appointing Nan Reiner to be the secretary to take the minutes for this annual meeting.
Thank you. And at this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our 2023 annual meeting contained in the annual report.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Second from Sue Broward, moved by Joyce Oldmixon. Any discussion? Questions, additions, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And thank you to Barb Kunkel, I think, who took the annual meeting minutes last year. I've agreed to speak on behalf of the nominating committee for Laurel. As you should know by now, we have two candidates for 3 open seats on the vestry. Lynn Lund. Lynn, if you would please stand wherever you are. Lynn. who has served in the past on the vestry, and as our treasurer, Lynn has agreed to serve again. As I talked with her about the work of the vestry for the next couple of years, the property issue was, of course, of prime importance to her as the head of our growers group and somebody who is deeply invested in this place. So thank you, Lynn. Mary Pat Schustrom, she and her husband Dale Hathaway are up in Atlanta for a funeral of a very dear friend, so can't be with us, but she is also standing for election to the vestry. We do have a third open seat and no candidates, so I would entertain a nomination from the floor. If anybody feels so moved to stand for election to the vestry, I'd be happy to entertain that. You do need to be a member of the parish, which means you are at least 16 years of age, faithful in worship and the support, financial support of this congregation. So if anybody would like to stand for election to the vestry, we will entertain nominations from the floor. Before that happens, we are prepared to move ahead with an open seat and allow it to be filled by the work of the vestry and in conversation with others in the congregation. So we don't need to panic about that, but if somebody feels moved by the Spirit to stand for election, I would entertain that now. Seeing no motions for a nomination, I would like a motion to close the nominations for vestry at this time. Moved by Al, seconded by Marcus. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Given that we have two candidates for the three open seats, I invite us to, by acclamation, elect Mary Pat Schustrom and Lynn Lund, each to a 3-year term to serve on St. Alfred's vestry. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right. Congratulations to Lynn and to Mary Pat. It was a hard-fought, but good election. At this time, I want to turn things over to our Treasurer, Hannah Westcott, who will offer her financial report for the state of the congregation's finances, as well as the 2024 budget. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you all. I can't tell you how good it is to be here and to see you all. I want to say, starting, that in my time serving as your treasurer, you have continually impressed me. You're so faithful in fulfilling your pledges and giving so generous of your time beyond your pledge promises. So thank you, thank you. I'd like to begin with just a brief review of the 2023 financial year. We entered the year with budgeted expenses of $638,000 and anticipated revenue of $558,000, which resulted in a projected budget deficit of $80,000. By January 11 last year, we had received 78 pledges in the amount of $269,735. By December of last year, the number of pledgers grew to 89, and the total amount that we received for pledges was over $325,000, an increase of over $50,000 from what we planned. And the great news is that at the end of the year, we were over budget with contributions by $69,000. We knew going into last year that it was going to be financially challenging. This was largely due to the significant increase in our diocesan assessment, our tithe to our diocese. This increase was reflective of the down payment for the organ and some capital expenses incurred in 2021. The vestry decided that we would earmark $10,000 per month from the money market account to help offset this increase. And we also elected to receive our distribution from the Diocesan Management Program, our DEMP, rather than to reinvest it. This shows as an income on our budget, and each month we received $1,659 deposited into the money market from the DEMP. Overall, our expenses were higher than anticipated, and our actual year-end total was $669,000, ending the year over budget by almost $31,000. These overages were largely due to things that we had little or no control over: increases in utility costs, service fees, and unexpected HVAC repairs and replacements. These higher costs meant that we had to access an additional $85,000 from our money market fund to cover monthly and capital expenses. We were so blessed to have this money in reserve. However, as of December 31st, the balance in our money market account is just a little over $61,000, and we only have $1,390 in our capital fund. It's imperative that we replenish these accounts so that we have the funds on hand to meet emergencies, care for our buildings and our campus, and to assure that we do not have to access funds from our long-term endowment. On to the 2024 budget. The team began working on the budget in September. When we begin the process, we have little concrete information, and it's like constructing a puzzle. On the revenue side, there's little to go on at the beginning, but thank goodness, by the end of the year, our primary source of revenues, the pledges, is largely set. Pledges constitute nearly 50% of our contribution budget, so you can see how important it is for you to declare your intentions by submitting your pledge card. With a few exceptions, all other figures are best guessed based on historical data. The Budget Digest version, which is inserted in your booklet on the back of the agenda, shows a breakdown of our anticipated revenues and expenses for the coming year. Last year, we began our stewardship campaign, and the theme, Rooted in Abundance, has invited us to explore all the ways that we are called to use and to care for God's gifts. Our pledge drive, which began in October, brought into focus the responsibility to care for our spiritual home through our monetary commitments. To date, we have received 86 pledges in the amount of $288,599.92. Again, if you haven't yet submitted your pledge, it's not too late. You can pick up a card in the narthex or in the church office. For 2022, based on pledges received and last year's numbers, we are anticipating total contributions of $353,000, and we're guesstimating miscellaneous income of $126,000. This amount includes our DEMP distribution, which we hope not to have to access. And this gives us total projected revenues of $479,182 for the year. Now, just a note before I move on to expenses, we are so fortunate that our congregation takes their pledge commitment seriously. Almost all of our 2023 pledges have been fulfilled, and many have given beyond their commitment. The office is going to be sending out your 2023 giving statement in the next week or so, and this gives you the opportunity to make sure that your records and ours agree. If you see a discrepancy, call the office, and if you'd like to make up a shortfall, just note 2023 pledge on the comment line in your check. Now to expenses, most of which we have minimal control over. Personnel is our largest line item, and it constitutes 40.9% of our total budget. The next largest, at 30.1%, is buildings and grounds. In buildings and grounds, we see a $41,000 increase from the 2023 budget, but only a $17,000 increase from the 2023 actual costs. These higher costs are largely due to the increase in our building insurance premiums and the increase in utility costs. Outreach is our third largest expense at 13.6%. As you look at the budget digest, you'll note a decrease in the total outreach budget for 2024. This reflects the lower diocesan assessment this year, which was based on our 2022 expenses. However, we continue towards our goal of a 10% tithe to our wider community, and our outreach budget for 2024 has increased to $17,500 compared to $14,000 last year. And so, we enter 2024 with a projected budget shortfall of $128,000. I have faith that as our presence in the community increases through planned music events and programs such as Grief Share and Caregiver Support Group, our congregation will continue to grow, and we will again this year exceed our anticipated revenues. But this is the bottom line. We require income of $11,680 each week to meet our expenses. And the reality is that at this time, we don't have a large amount in operating reserves to fall back on. This is our church home. It is up to us, the people of St. Alfred's, with God's help, to make sure that we meet our financial obligations. And I have no doubt that we will. To stay fully informed, please look for the weekly financial update, which appears in both the banner and the bulletin, and we will continue to email the monthly nutshell report and post it on the bulletin board in the narthex and the church office. I encourage you as members of this parish to inquire about our church finances at any time. We welcome the chance to sit down with you and explain things in more detail. If you have an interest in finances or expertise in financial areas, please let us know. We would love to have you serve on the finance team, the audit, or the budget committee. In conclusion, I would like to thank all who have helped oversee the church's finances this year, with a very special thank you to the counters group, who faithfully show up on Monday mornings to count and process our weekly gifts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hannah. Any questions or comments for the treasurer, for Hannah?
No, we do have that available to access if we get into an emergent situation. However, we do not want to have to do that.
Could you repeat the question?
May we hear the question?
The question was, are we able to access our endowment account if we need the funds?
Any other questions or comments? All right, again, our thanks to Hannah, our treasurer. Just a note of order. Hannah is one of the members of the vestry stepping down, but our bylaws allow anyone qualified to serve as our treasurer. Does not even need to be a member of the parish. So we have spoken, the vestry has spoken with Hannah about her continuing as our treasurer, and the vestry has decided that she will be the one best suited to carry us through 2024, and she's agreed. So the vestry at its first meeting will be electing Hannah as our treasurer for 2024. So additional gratitude for Hannah for that willingness. Another important day in the life of this congregation as a member of the wider Diocese of Southwest Florida is our annual convention held every year in October down in Punta Gorda. It'll be held the second weekend of October, and we are entitled as a full parish in the diocese to 3 delegates to convention who represent this parish and its concerns, deal with diocesan matters, handling elections of members of the diocese to various boards and commissions. We do not have any delegates appointed at this point. It'll be an action of the vestry in their first meeting. But I want to use this opportunity to raise up the opportunity for any of you who would like to serve in that role to come and to speak to me or one of our delegates from previous conventions. If it's something that you would like to give your time and talent to, would love to hear from you. Again, we will be appointing 3 delegates to represent St. Alfred's at the convention the second weekend in October. It is a time of, I think, a fascinating time in the life of the diocese as we come together as a wider church to celebrate the good work going on in the diocese, to be part of that discussion. Lots of learning takes place, wonderful fellowship, beautiful worship. It really is, for anybody who has attended as a delegate in the past, will testify to a wonderful opportunity. So I would encourage you to pray about that, think about that. If you'd like to be considered as a delegate for convention, would love to hear from you. And the vestry, again, at its first meeting later in February, will appoint our 3 delegates and an alternate to convention. All right, Mr. Senior Warden, Scott Garrett, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's an interesting position to be in, to speak after the rector spoke this morning and Hannah spoke. So it's sort of my role to maybe bring things into perspective. You know, to say that we've just ended a significant year in the life of this parish is an understatement. We saw completion of a project that's been 40 years in the making. And at several points in our history, other times when we've thought about going forward with it, there was like, there's no way we can do this. It just won't happen. And even when the organ committee first joined together, you know, we thought, $700,000, that should be plenty. No, it wasn't even close. And the thought is, how do we do this? It's here. This parish has an uncanny level of generosity and commitment. But more than the installation of the pipe organ, it's a testament to the commitment of the parish when we've joined together to accomplish something for a specific goal. In a parish of about 90 pledging units, we had 97 donors of individuals and families to the organ, raising $1.2 million. There's nothing we can't do if we commit to it. You just heard that we presented a deficit budget, $120,000 deficit budget. I want to remind us that at the point of the annual meeting last year, we presented an $80,000 deficit budget and ended with a $60,000 surplus budget. We do a really great job of committing and fulfilling. What we don't do a really good job of is pledging up front, of pledging quantitatively at the point of prior to the annual meeting, prior to the budget creation, to allow us to truthfully and completely plan for the next year. So we go on faith. We're a church. That's what we do. I have no doubt that we will meet this budget. We had no idea how we were going to do it last year with the $80,000, and look where we are. Weekly contributions ended 120% of what we planned. As Hannah said, you all fulfill your commitment, and you exceed it. We gained several new members this year. And one unique thing about the several new members we gained this year, they actually asked for pledge cards. That's a wonderful thing. So, we will make it. This is a very healthy parish. We shouldn't go away from this meeting thinking, oh, we're in dire straits. We're not. We have about a $500,000 endowment. And as Hannah said, if we got to the point that we needed money from that, we could do it. So there's no risk to this parish of not succeeding. We will succeed. I'm confident of that. I want to focus on another aspect of something the vestry did over the past 2 years, and that's a little over a year ago, we consolidated all our debt into a diocesan loan. I don't think that we all really realize the significance of that. We took at least 3 long-term debts and consolidated, and one of them being our mortgage, that every 5 years would balloon and we'd have to start over and get a new mortgage for another 5 years. So that was, for the next 30 years, we were going to do every 5 years of, sort of like paying off your credit card. 10 cents goes to principal and, $300 goes to interest. That diocesan loan is a 15-year fixed-rate loan that assumed all of our debt. In 13 years, this church will be debt-free. We already don't have a mortgage anymore. It's been converted to this diocesan loan. We don't have to go back to the lenders and ask for money and a good rate. It's at a very good rate. Interest, what is it? 3%, so somewhere around 3%. So we also there's no penalty for early payoff. We can pay this loan off early. It also resulted in a significant monthly savings operational costs, so that the mortgage we received from Plato, more of that went into excess operating funds, and less went to paying off what was the mortgage. This is a healthy parish, not only because of the financial commitment of the members, but also the careful management of our funds by a committed group of leaders. We have an exceptional group of leaders who really look at our expenses and take appropriate steps when we need to. But one of the aspects we can't understate is the financial impact of those who give of themselves in the running and maintenance of our church. We have 3 paid staff members. In addition, we outsource bookkeeping and the cleaning of the church. That's the formal cleaning of the church. All the rest of us do the everyday cleaning of the church. We would not be successful if it weren't for the individuals who give of themselves in the office, who handle most of the administrative functions of the parish, and who maintain and repair the facilities. And none of us is getting younger. We are less agile on the ladders than we used to be, and falling off is not a fun thing to do. But we save a significant amount of operating cost by the volunteers who run this church. These things often happen behind the scenes and without the knowledge. You come to church and it's all ready. Everything works. It's good. There's a lot of house elves that work hard throughout the week to make these things happen. The in-kind donations to the parish are significant. If we actually paid for these services and in-kind items, we would be presenting you with a much different budget picture. To these people, I offer sincere thanks to you on behalf of the vestry for everything you do. Thank you. Now we move forward. The financial changes will be met. Of this, I am confident. As Father Peter noted in his report, the function of the vestry will be shifting to a more strategic initiatives. But our immediate focus are on the following things. We want to continue to grow the congregation in the midst of an ever increasingly unchurched nation. And we do this through honest, meaningful, quality worship and program development. If you provide it, they will come. We have been blessed with several new members this year, and the quality of worship and program experience were some of the key elements in them deciding to make their St. Alfred's their faith community. We want to increase the involvement of parishioners in the various programs and volunteer opportunities. Each of you has unique gifts to offer. Those of us who are currently active, climbing ladders, planting plants, doing office work, would really appreciate the joining of new people to help with this. We need to complete a couple of outstanding elements of our overall organ project. One being the updating of the sound system, and two being the repair and opening of the skylight. If you look up in the skylight, you see light there. That's because the cover of the skylight is now not covering it anymore, it's split open, so water comes through there and we need to fix it. So in fixing it, we will also open it back up to allow God to rain with his sunshine down on our church again. We're also, as Father Peter noted, going to, in earnest, proceed with the development of the David R. Morris Center for Church Music and the Arts. Under the authority of the vestry, we'll develop a leadership operational board to move this center forward. In the 6 months since the completion of the installation of our organ, we've seen a significant increase in community involvement in concerts involving the organ, as Father Peter noted. Public awareness is an important part of growth, and future concerts and events are being planned and will be planned to get even more community into our doors and on our campus to experience what we have to offer. That's a significant part of evangelism. And finally, the lease with our tenant charter school will terminate on July 30th, 2030. That seems like a far way away, but considering we began this with a 20-year lease, it's 6 years left. And we will take full possession of our property once again. It will be a primary focus of the vestry to plan for that time. There will be important planning to take place to prepare for the exit of our tenant, to rehab the building as necessary, and to move back into our space with consideration as to securing the right size tenant for our excess capacity. I want to suggest, I mentioned the diocesan loan will be paid off in 13 years. I want to suggest that we don't need to wait for 13 years to pay off that loan. We raised $1.2 million in less than a year. I think the loan is, what's the total? About 400?
About $480,000.
About $480,000. Drop in the bucket. That's nothing. So I'd like to suggest that with a careful and committed capital campaign, we could get out of debt. And what would that mean? Every bit of what the charter school pays us would go into operating funds and could be used to not only rebuild the operating reserve, but also maintain the facility. One of our biggest challenges this past year, unknown challenges, was the replacement of more air conditioners. I am happy to say we have replaced every air conditioner, I think it's 27 units or something like that, every air conditioner on this campus now. So, and that's pretty good since some of them were installed in 1984. So we can focus on it, we can commit to it, and we can do it. St. Alfred's is a special place with so much to offer. Those who have been part of the family for years know this. Those new to our family have discovered this as a part of their faith journey. It's now up to each of us to share what we know with others who are seeking a home, regardless of whether they know they're seeking a home. Thank you for another year of being able to serve you as your senior warden. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. It's an honor to serve alongside you. Thank you for your leadership on vestry and in so many other ways around here. Greetings from Plato Academy. I do want to let you all know that we do have a regularly scheduled monthly meeting with the principal and vice principal of the academy, as well as their property manager, system-wide property manager. We meet to discuss shared issues around property and calendars. There are moments when the school has access to the church for special events, concerts, graduations. So this regular communication is vital to the healthy relationship between us, making sure that the concerns of the church are being recognized and honored. It's a good opportunity for us to remind them that this is a church property, and that although we are happy to have them here using this facility for their school, that the good working of that relationship is crucial. So we work hard with the office staff and their leadership to make sure that everybody's needs are being met and needs respected as well. So, all right. At this time, I would like to offer a moment of personal privilege to thank our outgoing vestry members. It's been my practice to thank them individually and offer them a book on Thanksgiving. So Ann Bagley, Laurel Bennett, and Hannah Westcott are heading off the vestry. So I have picked up books that I hope you will find are meaningful to you. And I'll start with Hannah, who is sitting here with me. In thanks for your service. It is with deep gratitude for your incredible dedication, faithful service on vestry and as our treasurer, and for all of the other ways you serve and share your own sacred fire with this parish. I'm also grateful for your willingness to continue to serve as our treasurer. May God continue to bless you in all of your living and serving, excuse me, even as you continue to be a blessing to all of us. Thank you. Thank you. Dear Anne, a book entitled Ladder to the Light by Right Reverend Stephen Charleston. In grateful praise of the light and wisdom you always brought to our vestry meetings and for your good humor and graciousness towards all. You've been and will continue to be a blessing to this parish and to me. Thank you for your service, Anne. Thank you. And Laurel Bennett. A book entitled Liturgies for Hope is the mother of 3 young adults. I'm sure Liturgies of Hope are going to come in handy. In deep thankfulness for your service on vestry and as a member of our organ committee, your gifts for planning, promoting, and being undaunted by even the most complicated undertakings have been a huge gift to this parish and our ability to make dreams a reality. I'm also grateful that you will continue to bring your gifts and passion for music and worship to the next chapter of making St. Alfred's a center for training, teaching, and celebrating God through our worship. May God continue to bless and guide you in all that you do to make dreams come true. Thank you, Laurel.
All right, before we get to the closing prayer and adjournment, I want to say a special thanks and a request for all of you. The annual report contains a lot of information. It's not just a formality that is put together. So please take this report home and read about what your fellow parishioners are doing and the groups that do so much to make this church what it is. And I'd also like to thank Kevin Johnson. Besides being very talented on a musical instrument keyboard, he's very talented on a computer keyboard as well. And he puts together the annual report from the various and sundry formats of reports that he receives from across the parish. So thank you, Kevin, for the work that you did in putting this together.
Correct, the weekly bulletins as well. So, yep. Father Bill has asked for a couple minutes to talk about the mission to Jamaica. And so at this time, Bill, I invite you to come forward. Sure.
For over 50 years, I sat in that chair. And I can tell you, the thing that made me the most nervous was what people might say. Peter thinks I'm going to talk about Jamaica. Did you know that there are 7 retired clergy who are an active part of this congregation, serving in a variety of ways? What you may not know is that clergy, especially retired clergy, are very picky. We haven't compared our list of why we are here, but I believe, as with me, on every one of those lists is the faithful shepherd of the flock. So will you join me, will you join us in standing and thanking our faithful shepherd?
Nothing about Jamaica, Bill. Thank you. As I said in my address, it continues to be my deepest joy to be your rector, to be your pastor, your priest, and a true delight to work with you, to share with you in the ups and downs of life and all that we do in this parish. You are an amazing and faithful group of people, And we are all blessed to be called together by God at this time in our lives to walk together, to do what God has called us to do. So we're going to acknowledge that in our closing prayer in just a minute. But I do want to open up the floor if there's any other comments or questions or business to be tended to. Larry, would you come to the microphone, please?
Thank you for all being here. I'm kind of new to this church, and I want to thank you for all of you people who have blessed me in being a better person. I have had a lot of struggles. I was an AA person, and I'm still working at it. But I want to thank all the people who have shown love and gratitude to me, and it's really been a wonderful thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. Larry speaks to the reality that we all strive to create here at St. Alfred's, a place of welcome, a place of hospitality, a place of support and encouragement, wherever we are on our faith journey, whatever our current struggles and challenges might be, we know that we can find here people to walk with us, people to care for us, people to care with us, people to walk side by side with us. So we are indeed blessed, and thank you for reminding us about that, Larry. Other business. And seeing none, I would like to call this annual meeting to a close by inviting you to, as good Episcopalians, turn to your prayer book and page 836. As we join together in a general thanksgiving, page 836. Accept, O Lord, our thanks and praise for all that you have done for us. We thank you for the splendor of the whole creation, for the beauty of this world, for the wonder of life, and for the mystery of love. We thank you for the blessing of family and friends, and for the loving care which surrounds us on every side. We thank you for setting us at tasks which demand our best efforts, and for leading us to accomplishments which satisfy and delight us. We thank you also for those disappointments and failures that lead us to acknowledge our dependence on you alone. Above all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, for the truth of his word and the example of his life, for his steadfast obedience by which he overcame temptation, for his dying through which he overcame death, and for his rising to life again, in which we are raised to the life of your kingdom. Grant us the gift of your Spirit, that we may know Christ and make him known, and through him, at all times and in all places, may give thanks to you in all things. Amen. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.